You see, I'm going to be doing the musical poll for Wonders in the Dark, meaning that I have to write, just as our friend Maurizio is preparing right now. Actually, we're into the film noir countdown. It's going very, very well. He's up to number 48. And, you know, probably in May, it all depends on what Bob Clark is doing with his sci-fi poll, whether or not he's going to do it in tidbits or work it on weekends. But tentatively speaking, the musical countdown, the top 50 musical films of all time, it'll begin in May. It'll be an interesting project. I'm not so sure that these friends of ours in the blogging world are going to appreciate the top 50 musicals. You know, Sam Juliano here, you know, he's a man in his mid-50s. Most of the bloggers who are in their 20s and 30s, they don't have any use for these old-fashioned musicals. It's not that I'm, you know, diminishing their artistic perceptions or anything like that, but that a lot of this music is not music that they buy CDs to, you know, and hum to, you know. I go in here and I grab, you know, something like, well, we don't want that. Now, of course, now that I'm grabbing, I have something like Carousel, you know, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel. Now, how many bloggers, you know, are going to look at this and say, ooh, wow, you know, this is something that we want to listen to. We're going to put it on a, you know, car CD player. It ain't going to happen. So I'm looking through all of my, you know, DVDs of musicals that I haven't watched in years. Silk Stockings, The Unsinkable Molly Brown, The Green Pastures, Auntie Mame, the Broadway Melody of 1940, Kiss Me Kate, Singing in the Rain, Showboat, The Star is Born, Hallelujah, I'm a Bum, Annie, Get Your Gun, Cabin in the Sky, Meet Me in St. Louis, and tons of others. On the Town, tons of others that I'm still gathering up from my massive collection of DVDs and box sets, Judy Garland box sets, and, you know, the Lubitsch musicals. That's a wonderful box. Many of those are going to be strongly considered for the list, as well they should be. And many of the other, you know, musicals from the early period, the 1930s, you know, musicals like The Gold Diggers from 1933 and Footlight Parade and 42nd Street and Showboat 1936. These would be prime candidates to make this countdown. So what I have to do in the next couple of months is I have to review a lot of these films, which is not going to be easy with all the work that is involved at the site as it is with the diary and so on. And then after that, I have to then utilize WordPress by writing 50 essays. Now, how long the essays, maybe they'll be roughly the length of Maurizio's, maybe a little longer. I don't even know. Roughly the length of Alan Fisher's entries. I couldn't really write too much more, but then again, I may get carried away. After all, there are so many people in this blogosphere that would love to see me write, you know, at least 2,000 words on The Sound of Music. Well, how about a little Fiddler on the Roof? West Side Story, anybody? You're going to want more than just a few hundred, right? You're going to want a few thousand. That's the way it's going to be. So, you know, I have to get my act together and do this musical countdown. And you know what? We still don't have volunteers for the Westerns. We did have a volunteer, but he kind of dropped out of blogging. He had a lot on his plate, understandably. So that left us with Westerns. And then we have another category that nobody's talking about, comedies, screen comedy. You know, what's more vital and important and artistically challenging than somebody taking on that project? The 50 greatest comedy films of all time. You know, takes us back to the Silent Clowns with Chaplin, Keaton, Lloyd, you know, and the Marx Brothers and W.C. Fields and Will Hay, and then it goes all through the, you know, the Preston Sturges and the Lubitsch and the comedies from the 50s, and then Woody Allen and Mel Brooks and some of the more recent comedies, and Peter Sellers and so on. So there's so much that can be tapped into. I mean, even the shorter films, comedy shorts, which would all be considered. So that's an envious project for anybody to take. But of course, it's a lot of work. So if we can't get people to do those two polls, and also war films and romances are also going to be tentatively scheduled. What I will do is that I will ask somebody who doesn't have time to write to just provide their top 50 in each of these categories, and then we'll run a screen cap from each of the film, and then we'll open up the comment section so that the commenters will just see, for example, a screen cap of, let's say, Chaplin's The Circus. And so then that the thread would be, then everybody would begin to talk about the circus, what their experience of the film is, how do they artistically value the film, and the comment sections will basically constitute the analytical essence of the whole post, so that the person who takes on comedy will only need to list or to show the screen caps, and then that would actually be, a kind of like a picture prompt. Take the picture and go from there. That's the way that'll work. So basically we have 4, in addition to the musicals, we have 4 unanswered projects. Unanswered meaning we don't have a chairperson yet. And that's comedy, Western, romance, A Little Wuthering Heights, Letter from an Unknown Woman, Earrings of Madame romance, and war films. Again, that's another great category because, there are so many more films that go under that classification than many people would think. So we've had a great run. We had a great result with the horror poll with Jamie Ura and Robert Taylor and Troy and Kevin Olson. And then we had a magnificent animated poll a countdown poll conducted by Stephen Russell Gebbett, who lives in the UK. And now we have Maurizio Rocca, our own little Brooklynite friend, who's doing the film noir. So, we need to get, to firm up some of the other projects. But so far, everything's been, going very, very well.